Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. It's good to be back with you. I hope you are doing well. You can listen to and watch me on Rumble and YouTube. And of course, you can follow me on X at Engineer IDE. Please like, share, and subscribe because it does feed the AI algorithm. And lastly, please post your comments and questions below. It would be wonderful to hear from you. It's great to be back with you for this new episode. Been away for a while, busy working, trying to figure out if I want to continue this. I actually do like doing this. Sometimes the issue is you can kind of get caught up in, maybe there's not a lot of people listening. There are a few people listen to this, but not a lot. So then the question I have to ask myself is, why am I doing this? Well, for one, I enjoy it. Two, it helps me, gives me an opportunity to be able to explore what's out there in the news, all the happenings in math and science and technology here in the United States and abroad. And so then I have to come back to the question of, am I really doing this for likes and follows? Is this social proofing? Is this a dopamine hit for me? How do I get the dopamine hit? Do I get it from the pursuit of knowledge? And the fact that I just enjoy doing it? And it doesn't matter how many followers and views I get. I do have a regular job. I don't need this. This is not my career ambition to be an influencer or a YouTuber. I'm an engineer. And I actually think that's pretty cool. And I really enjoy what I do. But it does give me an opportunity to give my insights on industry, specifically in math, science, engineering, and technology. Some people would call STEM. And so for me, I had to take some time and really think about, why do I do this? Am I okay with taking some time off? Do I want to chase the algorithm? I just enjoy doing it. And if the people who listen to this get something out of it, a little bit more knowledge, if I can inspire somebody, no matter who that is, young kid, another adult, maybe somebody who's older, never thought that they could do it. That's the thing about engineering and math and science. Just kind of have to jump into it. A lot of people will tell you can't. Just ignore them. Jump into it. Start beating your head against the wall because it'll be frustrating. But I could talk about that more in a later episode. I think going forward, I'm probably just going to do maybe one or two of these a week, not live, but pre-recorded, and I'll just post those videos on YouTube and Rumble. And there you go. So that's that. Let's jump into the article here. And this article is going to be from Education Week, Ed Week, as it's called. Topic is mathematics. Hopefully, my mouse roller isn't too jarring to the viewer. Title of the article is "How AI Should Change Math Education: New Guidance on How to Adapt" by Allison Klein. Yeah, no matter what, AI is going to end up in schools. Already has in some instances. Um, it's going to be a part of our lives going forward. It's going to be integrated. It's a tool. Underneath is mathematics, linear algebra, probability theory, some other things going on. I won't get into that because that's not a part of this particular video. But yeah, it's here. And so then the question is, how do we deal with it? Do we take advantage of it, or do we let it run our lives, or do we regulate it out of existence and hence put ourselves into another 1,000-year dark age? This stuff has the potential to change our civilization like the previous revolutions did: the computer revolution, the industrial revolution, the agricultural revolution going back. Now, this is another one of those revolutions. And then, by the way, what's going to be the next revolution after AI? Obviously, that's beyond the scope of this video, but I personally think those are interesting questions. So, how are teachers going to adapt to it? That's the crux of this article. It's a recent article. It was published back in March. It's not very long. It should be a fairly quick video. Good one to get my feet wet back into the rhythm, so to speak, because I haven't done a video since, I believe, early December. But again, I'm going to put a couple out a week. I think I have time for that. It's kind of what I want to do. And yeah, we'll go from there. Yeah. Let me know how you, what you think. Again, post your comments and questions in the down below in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your feedback. Yeah, if you have questions about what I do, questions about getting into engineering, science, and mathematics, questions just about these articles. Maybe you don't like me. Maybe you don't like my voice. No. You too should feel free to comment below. I'm not going to delete your comment. You need to say some pretty crazy things for me to delete your comment. And it'd probably just violate YouTube standards. So that's the only reason why I would delete it. But I suspect their standards are more constrained than mine. But here we go. Article starts off: artificial intelligence powered tools can help students learn math. Yes, I believe so. Depends on how you design it. But here the article continues: but educators should also explain why students should be skeptical of the technology. I believe I agree with that. Concludes the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics in a recent AI position statement. The NCTM, also known as the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, is among the first teaching organizations to take an official position on AI. Well, I didn't realize we were all taking official positions on AI. Where's my water? So, if you watched my previous videos, I will post a couple here at the end of this video, both AI and math. I'm very much pro AI, very much anti-regulation for AI. Not saying there can't be any regulations, but and I'm not saying you need to be an engineer or a mathematician to create policies. By the way, there are many engineers out there who would probably disagree with me on this position, and there are. But I think policy. From my perspective, it'd be great if there were more policymakers that had a background in STEM somehow and had greater access to this knowledge. Then they could go ahead and hopefully explain what's happening in a in the most unbiased way they could. Obviously, they're going to be somewhat biased because everyone is biased in some manner, and just give you their co-policy makers as much data as possible, and then let them make their own decisions based off of the data they've received. It's probably a pipe dream because it's politics, and politics is very much like social media in the sense that it's about likes and views. How crazy can you be? People like watching car crashes. So anyway, let's get back to the article here. Excuse me. In its early stance, they're talking about the organization here, may be especially influential. Educators are looking for guidance on how to use AI in the classroom, but don't feel that it must come from government officials. Experts say, I agree with that. It should come from them, the teachers themselves. It can come from prominent, trusted organizations such as NCTM. I'm pretty sure a lot of people believe they're prominent and trusted. This is the first time I've ever heard of them, so I don't know anything about them or their policies. And as experts, the term experts has become a bit, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on the way you bend in politics, could either be a positive term or a negative term. Article continues here. AI has been around forever. It's been around for about 60, 70 years in some form. The mathematics is much older, much, much older. The mathematics underneath the hood has been around for quite a long time. But so it's this quote here. Let's finish this quote. But around forever. But with ChatGPT, it's becoming that much more common, said Kevin Daikima, who teaches middle school math in Michigan and is the president of NCTM. Math educators, quote here, math educators are looking for some guidance. How do you best integrate AI into the classroom? That's a good question. How do you do that? That's actually a really good question. This was a perfect opportunity for us to get out in front of the field. Yeah. It's reasonable. As a teacher, you have, you're the duke of your domain, the king of your castle, so to speak, when you're in your classroom. You're going to set the design, you're going to set the temple. What should the students learn? What type of technology should they be allowed to use? Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Don't have a problem with that at all. And if parents don't like that, then they move their kid to another school. I know that's easier said than done, but that would be the idea, the optimal idea. But yeah, should teachers have domain over their own classroom? Absolutely. Article continues here. AI has great potential to make math teachers' lives easier. In some ways, it's going to make it more difficult by helping to create quizzes or tests. For example, the NCTM guidance says it help aid. Yeah, create an aid. So it could create a quiz or a test for them, but then they'll have to look over that quiz and test to see if it makes sense. Does it make sense? Does it support the material that's been taught in the classroom? Will the students benefit from the quiz or the test? Those would be my additional questions to this. Article continues here. It may also help personalize learning for students by presenting them with problems tailored not only to a particular math skill, but to their own interests. Yeah. Yes. Possibly. Depending on how you do that. Again, it comes back to the design. Obviously, every student has their own interests. I know my interests were different in junior high and high school before I got out to the real world. My interests as a young kid, a lot of Star Trek stuff. Yeah, that definitely would have helped me if it would have been tailored towards that. Very much so. That would have connected a lot of dots for me a lot earlier. Of course, my life would be very different. But yeah, it could. It again comes back to the design. Design is destiny, as Scott Adams says. Uh, but the technology also tends to hallucinate, come up with answers that are untrue or unreasonable. NCTM writes, adding that AI tools don't always cite the sources for their information, giving students the illusion that the ideas do not need to be cited or vetted. That's an interesting, very interesting sentence. Yeah, it does hallucinate. AI does hallucinate. I don't believe it's possible to program that out of it. There's some reasons for that. I have some reasons for that. It comes up with answers that are untrue or unreasonable. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It sounds very familiar. Very familiar. Uh, and AI tools don't always cite the sources for their information, giving students the illusion that the ideas do not need to be cited or vetted. Do students not cite their sources? Let me rephrase the question. Do teachers always cite their sources? Do teachers say things that are untrue or unreasonable? You telling me there's not teachers out there that don't do that? I know engineers who do that. So you're telling me engineers have, pretty critical. If you're an engineer, you've had a pretty critical education, and engineers still do it. So yeah, I imagine there are teachers that do that. So I guess my question is, how is AI different? How is AI going to be different from teachers or students, or teachers and students? I don't know. I just think that's really fascinating. Um, the illusion that the ideas do not need to be cited or vetted. I just don't see a lot of that today. Something I learned in school was if you cite things, you vet it. Didn't always get it right, but you cite it and you vet it, you do your best. That might be the optimal situation. It's my personal belief that's actually impossible to have anything 100%, um, uh, let's say, true in the sense of like a paper or something like that. I mean, like an engineering paper, a physics paper, it might get pretty close. And I'm not saying there isn't a true um, underlying existence or foundation, or I'm just saying, let me put it this way: there's not a true underlying foundation of the universe. I believe there is. Um, but we're human beings with perceptions and biases, and humans hallucinate a lot. Humans have illusions. It's pretty regular. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And if you haven't gotten to that level yet, well, I have some books for you to read. Again, post your comments and or questions and criticisms down below. I'd love to hear from you. Anyways, let's continue this article. And AI tools tend to reflect the biases in society. Yeah, that's going to which it's going to reflect American biases, subculture of American biases. It's going to reflect Russian biases, Chinese biases. AI, and let's say in an African country, Nigeria, it's going to reflect Nigerian biases, or let's say Moroccan biases. It's in South America, Argentinian biases. Brazilian biases, right? The AI is going to reflect the biases of society, and the engineers who are developing and producing AI, they live in those cultures, and they're heavily influenced by those cultures because they exist within them. So there's some philosophy, philosophy of science, philosophy of the mind, some social psychology going on here in addition to the technology. Anyway, some things to think about. Probably lost all my viewers from talking about stuff like this. Generally, people don't like to hear stuff like this. All right. But I don't know. For me personally, I think it makes me a better engineer. Makes me better at thinking about things. All right. So, what can we de-emphasize? So they want to de-emphasize some things. Math educators are already accustomed to changing how they teach because of a new technology, Dakima said. After all, even before ChatGPT arrived in late 2022, raising educators' awareness of AI, tools like PhotoMath were already solving algebra equations for students. Yeah, where's my water? Get some water here. Yeah, PhotoMath. By the way, PhotoMath wasn't the first thing. There's a Stack Exchange for math students. There's some other websites that are similar to that. Chegg. Chegg's a place you can go to study, get answers for solutions for physics problems, math problems, economics problems, software development problems. The web in general. You put in a question to the problem you're trying to solve, and there'll be a bunch of websites that'll pop up. Some of them have good solutions, some of them don't. Some don't even. Some claim to have solutions, and they don't. So AI is just another piece of technology like that. Uh, Nothing, AI is not going to replace those things. AI is going to diversify the market. Article continues here. Before that, calculators were the game changer. Yeah. Yeah, calculators, computers. You compute things in computers with different types of programs. You can even write your own you can write your own program. Build yourself a calculator through a programming language like C or Python, and you could maybe Java. Yeah, well, certainly through Java, but then of course post that to your. You could upload that to your desktop and use that as a calculator, or a computing device of some type, because that's what a calculator is. Article quotes here: technology has evolved in such a way that it's forcing us to think about what is that critical content that's necessary for students. Dakima said. Calculators came out, and we had to figure out how do we better integrate this new technology called a calculator into the classrooms. And what does that mean in the terms of what we teach? What can we de-emphasize? Well, just because the technology exists doesn't mean you need to use it. I can tell you firsthand that when you're taking lower division math and science and engineering courses, everyone's using calculators. And then when you get to upper division mathematics courses, it's hard to find somebody using a calculator. Changes. It's interesting. You go to an engineering class, you see people using calculators, but in mathematics courses, upper division, you don't see a lot of calculators. Uh, Part of it is the material. It doesn't need it. You don't need it for the material. And another part of it is people figure out how to compute things in their head. They spend so much time around it because numbers are just a component of mathematics. There's so much more to mathematics than just computing numbers. That's really a rudimentary form of mathematics. Anyway, let's continue here. AI has highlighted the need for similar deep rethinking of how schools teach math, he said. Well, I think schools should rethink how to teach math, anyways. American schools aren't exactly the pinnacle of math education in the world. Matt, I'll be frank, and I've said you can watch previous episodes, and I'll post one here at the end. Math education in the United States is embarrassing. It's abysmal. I'm not sure if it's getting better or worse. It looks like to me, this could be my own bias based off the articles I pick. If I pick articles that math is doing really, really well, always well, nobody's going to watch those. But if math is doing bad, then everyone's going to watch those articles. I assume, and that kind of gets back to my point earlier, why am I doing this? I suspect math is not doing well, and that's because of the data. The data suggests that, well, not math is not doing well. American students are not doing well in math. We do have a culture, and I've said this before in previous videos, we have a anti-math culture. I don't think I put it like that, though, but that's actually a good way to phrase it. We have an anti-math culture. I remember when I was in school, pre-college, I would always hear, oh, math, oh, you'll never need that in the real world. You never need that. And the fact of the matter is, you could be in a job where it doesn't look like you need math. Let's say real estate. Say you're a real estate agent. My question to you would be, let me take a step back. If you're a real estate agent, math would tell you where you are, how you're doing at the moment. So here's the question: how many? Say you're a residential real estate agent, so you sell houses, condos, townhomes, duplexes, fourplexes. Let's say you sold 6 properties last month, or the 2 months ago you sold 5 properties last month, and you sold 6 properties this month. So that would be a quarter in the business world. So my question to you would be, what's your average sale of what's your average sale of houses over the last 3 months? How does that compare to your competitors, right? Because everyone's trying to get it. I don't have a lot of experience in real estate, but I imagine this is how it goes. You look for properties to sell. You talk to people. Hey, I'm going to sell my house, and say, oh, great. Well, I'll help you sell your house. Okay, well, let's go through the process, and you put it on the market, right? So that becomes the house you want to sell as a real estate agent, right? And then of course, how many of those do you need to get in order to actually sell a house? Is it you need to put 10 houses on, or 10 houses on the market to get 2 sold, 3 sold? And by the way, you could even go further back than that. How many people do you need to talk to in order to get 10 people to put their houses on the market? Do you need to talk to 10? Do you get 10 out of 10? That would seem impossible. It's probably, could be possible if you're really good at sales, but probably unlikely. Do you need 50? Do you need 100? Like a 10% rate, right? There we go. It's not rocket science math, but it's still math. It's math you can use. It's advantageous, right? You track your numbers, you track your data. Are other real estate agents doing that? No, because we live in an anti-math culture. Well, there might be a couple, but are most of them? Probably not. The math gives you a distinct advantage, right? So you don't just need math for engineering and science, but I could think of you post a job in the comments. Somebody listening to this, post a job in the comments. Let's see if I can come up with a way to apply that math off the top of my head. Something that you would never in a million years think you would use math for. I bet I could come up with something. Just off the top of my head. It's because I don't limit myself. When I was a kid, I limited myself to the possibilities of mathematics. And that's because I went to a school that had an anti-math culture. That's because our culture is anti-math. It's an anti-math culture. The American culture is an anti-math culture. People are going to tell you, oh, you'll never use math. You don't need that. Well, I just illustrated a point off the top of my head for a real estate agent. You could take those same principles and apply them to, let's say, selling cars, any type of sales position. At that point, you could apply to any sales position. You learn a little Excel, you get yourself some data tables. All of a sudden, you have this big set of data where you can track your numbers. You need to know math to do a business plan. What are your numbers, projected numbers, going to look like over the next 12 months? Please go on Shark Tank so I can watch you not know your numbers in front of Kevin O'Leary and the rest of those people and just get destroyed live on national television. Please do it. Because every person who goes on there and knows their numbers, they're using math behind the scenes. They're figuring that out. So again, another real world example of using mathematics. The people who use it will succeed, but they don't have the anti-math. Well, they might actually have the anti-math thinking. Oh, I'll never use that, without even realizing they use it. Part of that is, in my experience, teachers are terrible explaining the purpose of math and how it's extremely helpful. But yeah, that's just kind of my long-winded explanation for why math is important. I imagine that's not the last time I'll do that. I'll probably do it again. But yeah, let's continue this article. The quote here is, we need to continue to help our students see that math is used in real life. I think that was my whole point of the last 5 or 10 minutes. That math is not something that's just done in the K through 12 classroom. Thank you. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Dikema said, mathematics has historically and continues to be used to solve real world problems. Bingo. Bingo, bingo, bingo was his name. What was I just talking about? Right? Yeah, as a real estate agent, numbers help you define where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. It's the same thing for if you're an entrepreneur. You're trying to figure out your numbers for the next 12 months. You want to get $1 million from Kevin O'Leary or Mark Cuban? Know your numbers. Mark, if you watch enough Shark Tank, you'll see Mark Cuban will not give you a dime if you don't know your numbers. Well, no, I think he's done that. Kevin O'Leary for sure won't give you money. He for sure won't give you money if you don't know your numbers. So yeah, you got to know your numbers. That's the first form of math going back to Sumeria, 7,500 years ago, was accounting. They were using accounting, which I don't really view. I would view that as like a subcategory of a subcategory of a subcategory of mathematics. It's not mathematics in the truest sense of you use, it's obviously not the same type of mathematics that you're using for engineering, but yeah, you're using numbers, you're using the form of math, I suppose. Yeah, probably. Yeah, that makes sense. I could agree with that. Let's continue here. The organization also recommends that math educators be on the front lines of developing and testing AI tools aimed at teaching or reinforcing math skills. Yeah, I think this is great. Look, I don't know who this education is or who this organization is, but I agree with them a lot on a lot of things here. I haven't really seen anything I disagree with. And looks like they have the right questions, and directionally they're correct as far as like what they need to do. Yeah, test those tools. See if they make sense for your classroom. Absolutely. The good news for math educators, it will take teachers with more math expertise, not less, to properly vet cutting edge math education technology. Yeah, I think that's probably correct. That's probably correct. You probably need to know more math as a math teacher, as a math educator. You're probably gonna have to learn more math. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, yeah, you can't go wrong with learning more math. That's never the wrong answer. All right, so AI has, an article quotes here, the potential to change how we do things. Yeah, it will. It will change. So it's already changing the way we do things. Dakima said, but it's good that Dakima used that word potential. It's probably a better word to use, but I think we're past potential already. But he added that there's a lot of limitations to some of the initial AI tools that are out there. Yeah, that's good. No, that's reasonable. And we need to recognize just because it says powered by AI doesn't mean it's necessarily good. That's right. That's right. That's right. So this is by Allison Klein, assistant editor, Education Week. So yeah, that's it seems to be pretty reasonable to me, and yeah, it's going to happen. So the question is, are you gonna jump in? Take the initiative before it happens. Are you going to fall behind? AI is certainly going to destroy some jobs, but it's going to create a lot more jobs than it destroys, just like computers did. It's going to increase the market, the labor market. People like, it's like learning how to use computers. People are going to have to learn how to use AI now, not develop and produce AI, but they're going to have to learn how to use it. And so there's going to be a lot of jobs, a lot of engineers, a lot of probably engineering jobs that don't exist yet, that will need to, that in the future will need to exist in order to produce AI products. So that way, when you use a computer, you don't think about all the programming going on inside in the computer. You just use the computer. It's an interface. Same thing with AI, except for in this case, AI will be a software on top, like any other software program, with a bunch of powerful GPUs underneath. And computers. It also changed computers too. AI is going to change computers. It's going to change industry, the energy industry. We're going to have nuclear power. Data centers are going to need it. I have an article about that coming up soon. I still need to read through, but that's going to happen. So yeah, I mean, it's in the grand scheme of things with the other revolutions, AI is going to probably do. I would say it's going to do, but probably, using the word probability is probably a better word to use. Change our civilization for the better. I mean, there's going to be some downsides, just some trade-offs, but I think mostly it's going to be beneficial. But that's all I got. It's good to be back. First episode after about probably looks like about 6 months off. And so yeah, I'll make the outro short for this one, so you don't have to wait long, and you can jump into the other article or the other articles that I've done videos on in the past. And so with that, I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.